So a few weeks ago, I invited my friend Trey on to help tell the story of the song I was covering because he also loves great music stories. Well, one thing led to another, and I've invited Trey back today because he says he has a great story to tell me about an artist I've never heard of.
That's right.
Oh my God, dude, you can do that every time?
Today, I'm here to tell y'all about Michael Jackson.
Michael Jackson?
Oh yeah, you know Michael Jackson?
Yeah, man, I've done like 30 videos on Michael Jackson.
Oh, the one who was making music in the 70s?
Yes.
The guy who made music with his brother?
Well, brothers, but yeah.
Yeah, from the United Kingdom.
No, he's famously from Gary, Indiana, man.
Oh, you're thinking of Michael Jackson.
What did I say? Because who's on first? Michael Jackson, dude.
That's my bad. I should have mentioned him by his artist name, Mick Jackson.
Okay, Mick Jackson, I've never heard of.
Just like I said. Today, I'm going to be telling you about a different artist named Michael Jackson. How he wrote one of my favorite songs that was made popular by the other Michael Jackson, and how these two Michael Jacksons simultaneously competed in the charts with the same song. Which then raises a lot of other questions.
Okay, but what is this record?
This is something not on streaming.
By the way, there are two versions of this video, the one you're watching now and then the full edit on Patreon. We can do a lot more over there, so the video is gonna be longer and it's ad-free. Patreon.com/diggingthegreats. You get it. All right, Trey, let's go.
All right. Okay, first, let me tell you about the Jacksons.
Okay, Trey, I know the Jackson 5, man.
No, I'm talking about the Jacksons. You see, it is the same, but different, and in a very important way. You see, the Jackson 5's big break came in late 1969 with I Want You Back and their debut album. But that success was relatively short-lived. In fact, the majority of what we know of their biggest hits, 7 top 10 songs, all came in a 2-year span. After those 2 years, the peak of the Jackson 5's popularity started to decline rather quickly. Now, Michael did top the charts with his solo release, Ben, in 1972, but he and his brothers as a group went almost 3 years without a top 10 hit until 1974's Dancing.
All right, so they've got some ups and downs. That doesn't seem too strange. This was all on Motown though, right?
Yeah, exactly. And actually, this is kind of a transitory time for that label as well. Berry Gordy had officially uprooted the entire label from Detroit in 1972 to Los Angeles. But the Jackson 5, they continued cooling off for a little bit. See, around this time, they started to become known primarily as a Las Vegas act and performed smaller tours throughout the US. But Joe Jackson, their father and manager, this is not what he had in mind for his sons. And ultimately, in 1975, the Jackson 5 left Motown.
I bet Berry Gordy was not happy about that.
Correct, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. Because today we're here to talk about the song that put them back on the map, Blame It on the Boogie, first released by Michael Jackson.
Okay, but which Michael Jackson?
Now you're starting to get it. The other Michael Jackson.
All right, can we play this record? Because I gotta hear this other version. Roughly the same.
But different.
But it's not the same line. Not walking down. All right.
Don't blame it on the moonlight. Don't blame it on the good times. Get this. Blame it on the boogie.
Okay, so Trey, let's get into it. Who is this other Michael Jackson?
Okay, so at the same time that all the Jackson drama is happening, across the pond, there's a completely different disco artist named Michael Jackson, though technically, he released music under the name Mick Jackson. Now, Mick also made music with his brother, and they had this opportunity to work with a Grammy-winning producer named Sylvester Levay. He was in the disco world as well. But when the Jacksons... No, Mick and Dave, the UK Jacksons, my bad. When they showed Sylvester Levay the demo for Blame It on the Boogie, he was underwhelmed.
Underwhelmed with Blame It on the Boogie?
Yeah, it's a great song, and Mick thought so too. So he ran to the piano, and he started singing a line off the top of his head. And here's Dave Jackson, his brother, recalling the moment it happened.
Somewhere in the back of his head, he had this idea, I just can't control my feet. And he sat at the piano, I just can't control my feet, I just can't. And all of a sudden, Sylvester, Silver as Mick called him, was sort of doing a funny little sort of dance to it, you know. And he was getting, a bit turned on with this sort of thing. If he hadn't have come up with that line, I just can't control my feet, as simple as it may be, we could have lost a deal. The song Blame It on the Boogie could possibly have never been released.
So this one line made the entire song. And knowing that it helped get the Jacksons, the US Jacksons, back to popularity, you could argue that that one line saved their career as well.
Yeah, that's crazy. We wouldn't be talking about this song at all right now if it weren't for that line.
Exactly.
That's crazy, though. I'm still trying to wrap my brain around the fact that a different Michael Jackson wrote and released this song first.
And funny enough, that one line is one of the main differences between the two different versions.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's listen to the Jacksons version. Here we go. Cool.
I just can't control my feet.
All right, show me Mick.
In the other version, we get this.
That's crazy. I just can't control my feet. I just can't.
I just can't.
I just can't.
I just can't.
I just can't
I just
control
can't
my
control
feet.
my feet.
I just can't.
I just can't.
I just can't.
I just can't. I just can't control my feet.
I want to take a quick second to thank the sponsor of today's video, Factor. Look, like you, I'm busy. Now, I love cooking, but I don't always have time to do it. And eating takeout all the time is expensive. That's the great thing about Factor. You can get chef-crafted, restaurant-quality meals delivered to your door. Look, I was skeptical, but then they sent me some. And I gotta tell you, these meals are delicious, and they're ready in 2 minutes. This is the chicken pot pie pasta. It's really good. We also got an apple, kale, wheatgrass, cold-pressed juice. Come on. These meals are cheaper than takeout, they're more delicious, fresh, never frozen. They offset 100% of delivery emissions and source 100% renewable electricity from the production sites and offices. Win, win, win. Plus, they're flexible. You can get anywhere from 4 to 18 meals delivered per week, and you can pause or cancel deliveries anytime. It's cheaper, it's more delicious, and they're ready in 2 minutes. Head to my link and get 50% off for free shipping on your first Factor box and 20% off your next month of orders with code GREATS50. Well, I'm eating on the thing for a bit, but it's really good. All right, back to it.
Okay, so there is another difference between these two versions that I find very interesting as a percussionist.
All right, let's get into it.
Okay, Brandon, I know there's been a lot of confusion for you in this video so far, but this one's easy. In a song using common 4/4 time, what beats do we call the backbeat that get the strong emphasis?
Okay, first of all, I'm not confused. You're legitimately trying to confuse me, but that would be beats 2 and 4.
Exactly, beats 2 and 4, and that's where we usually find snare drum hits. Those are the beats that you should be clapping along to when you listen to music, and that's also the place that makes the most sense often to play tambourine accents. But in this version, the Jacksons version, the tambourine is actually accenting beats 1 and 3.
That feels like not a good idea.
Yeah, kind of what I thought too, but on a deeper listen, I noticed that those accents help emphasize where the keyboard is playing and where the bass line is setting the groove. Now, as a percussionist, I'm obsessed with noticing the ways in which small instruments like the tambourine can affect the overall feel of a song in quite dramatic ways. You want to see?
Yes, let's do it.
All right, let's do it. Okay, so Brandon's gonna play the bass line from Blame It on the Boogie, the Jacksons version, which on its own is quite funky. Let's hear it.
So do you want it in the key of the Jacksons version, or do you want it in the key of the Mick Jackson version? Because they're different, guys, they're different.
Let's do whatever is not gonna be confusing for you.
Oh my God.
So the Mick Jackson version has the tambourine playing like you might expect, like this. But on the Jacksons version, the tambourine part is this.
Oh.
Add in a conga part that emphasizes upbeats and the drum groove that does play accents on 2 and 4, and you get a really interesting way of accentuating this groove that makes you feel every single beat.
Okay, that's actually pretty cool. That slight change made it feel entirely different. And this bass line is very heavy on the downbeats, so they do sync up together.
It's actually kind of funny because playing beats 2 and 4 feels so natural that in the Jacksons recording, you can actually hear the session musician accidentally play 2 and 4 in verse 2 before realizing and jumping back to 1 and 3. It's pretty wild how such a small change can make a big difference.
Okay, wait, let's get back to the story of how the Jacksons ended up with this song in the first place.
Okay, right, so they had just left Motown.
Right, and Berry Gordy's not happy about it.
Exactly, and not just because the Jacksons were one of their most successful groups. His daughter Hazel had just married Jermaine Jackson.
Oh, that'll make for an awkward Thanksgiving.
Yeah, so technically 4 of the Jackson 5 left Motown. Jermaine stayed behind to work on his solo career there, and because there was now an opening, young Randy was promoted to take his place. By the way, one of the Jacksons in the group was Tito, who just passed away recently. Rest in peace, Tito.
Wait, Janet performed with them at some point too. How many Jackson siblings are there?
There are a lot. And ultimately, because they left before their contract was up, Motown sued them. Eventually they reached an agreement that allowed the group to continue as long as they changed their name.
Okay, so that's how the Jackson 5 became the Jacksons. I always thought that was just sort of like a stylistic change.
No, we call that legal obligation. Anyway, newly minted, the Jacksons released a few records under Epic Records. And while they were moderately successful, it still wasn't what Joe had in mind for his sons. They managed to negotiate with the label full control of their next album, 1978's Destiny, which included this song.
Blame It on the Boogie by Mick Jackson.
Correct.
Okay, but how did the Jacksons get their hands on Blame It on the Boogie?
Well, for a long time, the story was of like a secret pocket recording that made its way over to Mick Jackson.
Yeah, we got like spies and trench coats and backdoor deals and stuff.
Yeah, kind of exactly, but not. The real story, in my opinion, is actually even worse.
How so?
Well, because their actual publisher of Mick Jackson, Peter Kirsten, met face-to-face with Joe Jackson and gave him the song.
Mick's own publisher.
His own publisher, which is crazy. Even the producer of Mick's version, Sylvester Levy, warned him, saying, "Don't do this. You're going to kill your act." But if you're that publisher, it's kind of hard to pass up on that payday. You've got a great song, and now you're gonna get the US Michael Jackson to sing it?
Well, yeah, I mean, he's making money either way, and, he's keeping it in the family, so...
Okay, to be clear, Mick Jackson was not actually one of the Jacksons. Okay, same name. Okay.
Okay, but you said earlier that both of these songs were released at the same time?
Yeah, within weeks of each other. Because CBS and Epic had a lot riding on their brand new contract with the Jacksons, so they didn't care the mixed version had already just come out. This meant that at the same time, 2 versions of the same song, both by artists named Michael Jackson, were vying for chart position. And the media couldn't get enough of it. It was dubbed the Battle of the Boogie.
Okay, that sounds like the title of a weird disco Civil War reenactment musical.
I like that. We should work on that. But it was real, and some radio stations took sides. BBC Radio 1 only played the Jacksons version. Capital Radio only played Mick's single. But in the end, it was the Jacksons release which was a bit more popular. They had a music video using cutting-edge technology featuring great dancing with electronic trail effects. And while this single performed moderately on the charts, it reintroduced them to audiences, and just a few months later, Shake Your Body Down to the Ground from the same album got them back into the Billboard Top 10 for the first time in many years.
Okay, but Mick's version, Mick Jackson, British Mick Jackson,
Yeah.
his version of Blame It on the Boogie, the one that he wrote,
Yes.
that Mick Jackson, just
Yes.
want to make sure we're talking
Yes.
about the same one.
Uh-huh.
His version did well too, right?
Yeah, it did, and that's why I wanted to bring up the question of what makes a great song great? Because I've always loved the Jacksons version, and when I hear Mick's version, it does sound like a weird alternate reality thing, but I do still find myself enjoying the song. You did too, right?
Yeah, it's a good version.
So is that because I already enjoyed the Jacksons version? Here's the thought experiment. If Mick's was the only version that existed, would it still be as great of a song?
I don't know, because I do like both versions of these songs. There's a lot of layers here, though, like the production, the groove, the performance of the musicians on each of these records. The song is the vehicle for these things, but I think it's not just the song itself that made these 2 versions successful.
Well, let's talk about a third version of this song.
Wait, there's another version of this song? Are you telling me there's other Michael Jackson?
Yes.
What?
No, I'm just joking. There's only 2 Michael Jacksons, but I am talking about the Mexican superstar Luis Miguel and his version of this song in 1990 called Será que no me amas. And guess what? It was a hit for him as well. There was a whole dance and everything.
Okay, so you're telling me that Michael,
Yes.
Mick,
Yes.
and Miguel all sang this song and it was a hit for each of them.
Yes.
Okay, maybe Blame It on the Boogie really is that great of a song. You know, this is something I've thought about too with other songs that are covers that are more well-known than the original, like Jimi Hendrix's All Along the Watchtower.
That's Bob Dylan.
Or Whitney Houston's I Will Always Love You.
That's Dolly Parton. What about Respect by Aretha Franklin?
Otis Redding.
The list goes on and on, so honestly, man, I'm not even sure what makes it. Is it the record? Is it the lyrics? Is it the arrangements? The artist that sings it?
Your name have to start with an M.
I guess as long as it's making you feel good, all you can do is blame it on the boogie.
I cannot believe you did that, and I didn't see it coming. Okay, Trey, thank you so much for stopping by and sharing this story. This is an interesting thing that you brought up. I wonder what you all think. Drop a comment and let us know what you think makes a great song great. Any other covers that are more well-known than the original? I mean, I feel like I could do a whole video on one of these exact examples.
Brandon, you did.
Oh, right. The Earth, Wind & Fire cover of the Beatles song. You can watch that here. I don't want to walk off. That'd be too clunky. Okay, bye.
We're out of here.
Ding. Yeah. All right. Sick.